functions. What is a function? What's not a function? And we're going to talk about domain and range. Okay. I think the first day of domain and range is one of the harder days. Okay, but we'll get through it. All right. So first of all, a function is a special relationship between values okay, each input, okay, which is normally our x, okay, has exactly one output, which is our y. You don't even know what this is yet. You can't date it yet. All right. So if we have a set of ordered pairs, okay, if anything in the x values repeat, if there's any repeaters in the x, okay, then it's not a function. Okay. The vertical line test is if it gives you, if you're given a graph. Okay? If you have a graph and you draw vertical lines all over the place, okay, if the vertical line never goes through 2 points, okay, then it is a function. If it ever goes, if one line goes through that graph in more than one spot, then it's not a function. Okay, so let's do some examples. Okay, am I looking at my x values or my y values?
I have a question.
What's up?
So if the y value repeats, then
It doesn't matter. Okay, it doesn't matter about the y value. We're only looking at the x values. Alright, so if I'm looking at number 1, I'm looking at my x values. So my 5, my 3, 2, 0, and negative 1. Do any of those values repeat? No. So is this a function? Yes. Okay, so number 2, got negative 2, 0, 2, 3, and 2. Any repeaters?
Yeah.
What repeats?
2.
2 repeats. So it is not a function. Any repeaters in 3? What repeats? Negative 3 repeats. So function or not? No. Okay, remember, you're just looking at the x's. The y's don't matter. Okay, any repeaters in 4? No repeaters, so yes, it is a function. Yes.
Yesterday when I was in Pennsylvania, I had problems with the mapping.
Okay.
Because of the repeat. That's why I didn't understand that.
All right, so we'll talk a little bit about that again. Okay, so if I'm looking at this table, okay, any repeaters in my x's?
Yeah.
The 3, function or not a function? Not a function. How about 6?
Yes.
Yep, that one is a function. No repeaters in my x. How about 7?
Yeah.
That one is also yes. Very good. Okay. Number 8, repeaters? What repeats? 4. So this is not a function. Alright, so if we're looking at our mapping, okay, I've got negative 3 goes to 0, negative 1 goes to 4, 2 goes to 7, and 4 goes to 4. So basically, if I'm looking at this, if I'm looking at my x's, does any number have 2 lines or 2 arrows going off of it? So is it a function?
Yeah.
Yes. Alright, number 10. Do any of these have 2 lines going on it?
Yeah.
Yep. The negative 1 goes to 7 and the negative 1 goes to 0. So that means that that negative 1 repeated So it's not a function. Alright, so this is where we're doing that vertical line test. Okay? So if I draw vertical lines through these points, do any of those lines go through more than one point?
Yeah.
This one does, right? So that makes it not a function. Okay, how about number 12? Any of those go through more than one point?
No.
So it is a function. How about 13? How come? Because this line right here goes through more than one point, right? That's not a function. Oh, 14. If I draw this line, does it go through more than one spot?
Yeah.
Goes through right there and right there, right? So that makes it not a function. Oh, 15. That one is a function, right? Because none of these lines go through more than one point, right? So that is a function. What's a funky looking graph number 16?
Yeah.
That one is also a function because I can draw a whole bunch of lines through this. And it's still only going to go through one spot. Okay, so turn back to page 2. That's what we're going to talk about. That's why we're doing it. All right. For the domain, okay, you're going to scan your pencil left to right, right? Because we are talking about what? The x's or the y's when I'm talking about domain? The x's. So we're going to do that along the x-axis. Okay, and the range goes up and down or top to bottom along the y-axis. All right, so with my domain, so if I'm looking along my x-axis, does it ever stop? Is this going to keep going up, and over?
Yeah.
Yes. So my domain is all real numbers. This is how we can abbreviate it. All real numbers is an I and then an R like that. Well, the top part of the R has to go up above the I. So it has to look like that, and then it goes and kind of connects them. It almost looks like a T and an R. If it looks like that. Okay, otherwise it's not the correct symbol. It's not, it doesn't have anything to do with art, it's a symbol. Okay, or you can write all real numbers, that's up to you. Well, because you guys are all about shortcuts, so I wanted to give you the shortcut rather than writing all real numbers, yes. The y-axis always goes up and down. What do you mean?
Okay, so like, you don't have this like this is
The x's, the x and y, okay.
Which one was the x or
The x-axis always, the x's are your domain, the range is your y. Okay, is that what you
all the domains on the.
No. Okay, let's do this one first. Okay, guys, this isn't something you've done before, so it's not just something that you're gonna just know. Okay, so some of us need to focus a little bit and actually listen to the lesson, which we're not used to. Yes.
I have a question. So like to determine the domain, do we have to like put the line like in the middle or?
Not necessarily.
Okay, anywhere?
Okay, guys, let's look at the range. Okay, we haven't even started this yet. We haven't even gotten through one problem. Okay, so the range. Okay, so if I'm going on my Y's, okay, is there a part where it doesn't, is it gonna go? Yeah. The graph of the line. This line right here is what we're looking at, this graph. Is there a part where that never goes in the Y's? Where? Where? Underneath what?
Underneath the point.
What point?
0 or -3.
-2. It never goes below -2. So Y always has to be greater than or equal to -2. Okay, does it keep going up the whole time? Yep. So it's going to keep going up. So the Y values are always going to be greater than or equal to -2. Okay? If we're looking at number 2, okay, my X values run this way, right? So it stops where? It stops right here, right? And right there. Correct? All right, so with that, X is greater than or equal to what? -3. Okay, that's not where we're at right now. Okay, I just said X has to be greater than or equal to -3. Please just answer the question. Okay, I'm going slow for a reason. Okay, don't go ahead of me yet. You don't know how to go ahead of me yet. Okay, and X has to be greater than or equal to, less than or equal to 3. So this is that and statement that we were working on last chapter, right? Okay, where it's between 3 and -3, but remember my signs are going to go the same direction. Okay? Yes.
Okay, I have a question.
Okay.
On number 1, how do
Yep.
you get all real numbers?
Because it's going to go, these arrows mean that it's going to keep going, and this arrow means that it's going to keep going. So it keeps going till infinity, keeps going to the left to infinity.
So if it has arrows, so it's just going all over it?
Not necessarily. Okay, that's what we have to talk about. Okay, so we need some more examples. All right, I can't see my range down here. So let's talk about my range. My range is going to be between what and what? So if I'm going up and down, it's between 3 and -3. So Y has to be greater than or equal to -3. And Y has to be less than or equal to 3. Okay, so my domain and range on that one was the same. Okay, so now, if I'm looking at, number 3 now. Okay, is there ever a place along the X's that it isn't going to go?
No.
No, it's going to keep going left and right forever. So that is all real numbers. Okay, for my Y's, Okay, is it ever gonna stop going up and down?
No.
Nope, it's gonna keep going up in space, it's gonna keep going down in space, so that is all real numbers. Okay, so we're looking at 4, so we're looking at my x's. So if I'm looking at my x's, it looks like it might stop, but if I'm going left to right, does this necessarily ever stop?
No.
No. So that is
All real numbers.
all real numbers. You realize that everything you say gets recorded, right? No, it can, so. Yes.
How come number 2 isn't all the numbers?
Because, well, because it doesn't keep going. Like it's gonna stop at these lines. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't, there's nothing that says that it's gonna keep going, right? Okay. All right, so if I'm looking at my y's on this, is it gonna keep going down the whole time?
Yes.
Yep. But is there a spot where it goes up or where it goes up that it stops?
4.
Yeah, it stops at 4, so y has to be
Greater than, no,
less than or equal to 4. Because it hits 4, but it never goes above 4. Well, like if it were flipped and went up, but like if it went to like right here, then it would be less than or equal to 5. Because if you think about it, the only places that this is actually at is less than or equal to 4. You know what I mean? Kind of. Okay, because it stops right here, right? So everywhere on this graph is where? Less than 4. Right? There's nothing that's greater than 4 up there on that graph. Right? There's nothing above this graph, right? This graph never goes above 4. Okay? So it never gets above that. Okay, so looking at 5. Okay, if I'm going across, so across, I'm going to have right here and right here, right? So x has to be between what and what?
5.
And 5. So x has to be greater than or equal to -1. X is less than or equal to
No, -5.
5.
positive 5. Positive 5. Okay, if we're doing the same thing with our y's now, it doesn't get above that line, right? And it never gets below that line. So y is always going to be greater than or equal to -3. It's always going to be less than or equal to 3. All right.
Do I have to write it like that?
You have to write it like that. Not do I want you to write it like that. That's why we're writing all of them like that. Okay, so number 6, my x's. Okay, so is this ever going to stop going left to right? Nope, it's going to keep stretching. So that is all real numbers. Okay, my range, does it ever stop going up and down? Nope. So that is all real numbers. All right, number 7. So left to right. So my x's left to right. Is there ever a place where it stops?
No.
Nope, it's just going to keep going left to right. So how about my x? How about my y? Yes, sir. You're right. Depends on if it keeps the pattern. Let's say that it does keep the pattern. So, yep, so if it keeps the pattern, this is as high as it goes, right? This is as low as it goes. So that means x has to be greater than or equal to, or sorry, not x, y. -3. And it's less than or equal to 2. Good. Yes. No, but if you put your signs, if you flip your signs, then 2 needs to go there and -3 needs to go there, yeah. Yep, that's fine. Is it starting to kind of click? I know this is the hard part. Okay, so now we're going domains, so that's my x's. Okay, is there a part where it does it keep going to the right? Yep. Does it keep going to the left?
No.
No. So x has to be, is it going to be greater than or less than?
No, greater than.
Greater than, because it's all on the right side, greater than or equal to what? -1, yep. Good. Okay, how about going up and down? Does it ever stop?
No.
It doesn't stop, so that one's all real numbers. Okay, 2 more and then I'll let you work. Okay, this line, does it ever stop going left to right? Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't go left to right, right? So this, at this point, x is going to equal 2. Because it's on, x is at the 2 mark, right? Does it ever stop going up or down? Nope, so that is all real numbers. Okay, number 10, does it ever stop going left or right? So that is, all right. And for my range, y is going to equal -4 in this one.